And we are back. Team, welcome back to another, what is this, our midweek? This is our midweek check-in. Comfort and Chaos episode brought to you by myself and, of course, my co-host Will, coming from high top of the mountains of Colorado. Sorry, I got distracted there. We just got
I know you didn't about to say California.
Another subscriber there. Hey, shout out to you. Appreciate that sub. Way to throw me off. But it's okay, guys. Hey, thank you all for clicking on this video and being present. There's multiple forms and power and presence, guys, and I thank you for tuning in and hearing what we have to say, you know, as we embark in some comfort and chaos in this midweek check-in. All right? Will,
Brother,
it's been a week, dude, and we're not even through it.
A week.
We're not even through
man.
it.
You know, friggin' economic downturn. I lost the lead on all them giraffes I was going to buy. Giraffes are down. Raccoons are up. So we're going to build a raccoon army. That's what we're doing.
Well, there you go. Hey, before we get started, hey, how about you show to our future sponsor, do a little shout out.
Yeah. Hey, Buffalo Trace. Every episode, we're going to keep doing this.
We're not lying.
We are not lying.
We're not lying.
Hey, Buffalo Trace. It's what's for dinner.
It's what's for dinner.
Come on,
lunch,
that's lunch, breakfast.
Nightcap.
I mean, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We've got a problem, but lunch and dinner, hey, we're okay. We're still okay. All right, Buffalo Trace, we are okay. And
Hell yeah.
Until you officially recognize us, we're gonna keep doing this. So let's do business, right? Just like giraffes and raccoons. Let's do some business. I'm doing business. All right.
Hell yeah. So Buffalo Trace, stop ignoring us. All right. Either way, appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. You make a good product. All right. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll keep supporting you regardless. All right. Team. Cheers. Actually, today I got some wine, dude. You know, had a little good dinner earlier and I got some wine. So I'm staying on that wine train. You know, don't they say it's bad to mix, you know? And I learned from my days when I was a private, let me tell you, it is bad to mix.
Yeah, it can be. It definitely can be. Wine and wine. You know what? Wine and bourbon. You'll be fine.
Wine and bourbon.
You'll be all right.
So, man, I'm telling you, man. So, as you know, team, hey, appreciate you guys. You guys clicked on it. You already saw. It's the week of the chosen one. That's how I see it. The chosen one. You have been chosen, man. So we finally got, as you guys know, this week, and we're not even over, but, the VP, the vice president, who is did she already get the Democratic nomination fully?
Yes. Yeah. So they, right. They the Democratic Party changed their own rules a little bit, and did essentially an online virtual roll call before the, DNC, what is it? The big.
Yeah. The big, Democratic convention.
Democratic Convention. Yeah.
They're having in where is it?
Chicago?
DNC,
Democratic National Convention. Yeah. In Chicago. And, so they did a virtual roll call and, all came out in support and officially crowned, Harris as the nominee. So it is official.
That is, it still is pretty crazy. Like the whole process, it just blows my mind, when you think about it from the analytical side, the analytical perspective, you apply that the logical side where you're just like, wait a minute, you guys just had a candidate, you backed him, and you're hyping him up, and then in the flip of like 48 hours, it's like, all right, nope, now it's you.
Not just backed that candidate, right? Like had a primary, with how many voters that voted for a candidate, and then essentially cut a pseudo backroom deal where the Democratic Party, right, the elites within the Democratic Party all came together and anointed Harris without a single question, any legitimate challenger, and did this, right?
Yeah.
At the same time that they were openly lying to the American public about the current the state of the current president and his capabilities, right?
And
at the same time,
yeah,
right, are screaming about, hey, this is for the future of democracy. Like, what the fuck?
There's just too many, and I get what you're saying, man. And you're not. It's not even like you're not even saying it from like the opposite side perspective. You're just saying it from like a common sense perspective. Like, this is the fact. This is what happened.
Correct.
You know, and from a common sense, I would say common sense analysis, you got to ask yourself, wait a minute. Okay. So it's like as if you were to go into a gas station today. Now, mind you, I mean, inflation's already a thing, but let's say you were going to a gas station, buy a Monster, because, you know, I like those Monster Zero Sugars. I go in there and I go to a certain gas station and I go in there and it's $10. There's got to be before I go up to that counter and pay this $10, I'm going to be like, wait a minute. Why is this Monster $10 when yesterday at the other gas station it was $2.50? What? Huh? What's up? I mean, I'm just gonna ask why. It's just I'm gonna apply some common sense analysis as to why. What's going on? You know. And in this situation, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, I remember right after the debate. You know, right after the debate, yeah, it was a debacle of debate. We all know that. But then all of a sudden, you're seeing right after, it's been blown up all over media. President Biden held his ground and he did his own and he stood his ground and he did the best. There were some flaws, but he's going to fix it for the next one. And, you know, another $60 million is coming in and all this. And then almost like 2 days later, yeah, we got to get rid of him. Yeah, there's now a new candidate. You know, we're nominating here. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's just kind of weird. That's proof to me, it's a proof of like a systematic function. There's not one individual making the call. This is like Knights of the Round Table are like making the call, you know?
And it hasn't changed, right? Like, I mean, you're talking about months, right? Months, if not, you know, really a year plus prior, right? Like, people started seeing it, right? Him falling on the bike, can't walk up the stairs, right? Like, just wandering off. Like,
dude,
and people were like, wait a second, like, and pretty much everybody was like, no, what your eyes are seeing. What did they call them? Cheap fakes? Like, that's what that was the term that they get. Oh, those are just cheap fakes. Like, the White House ran with it. The mainstream media, for the most part, ran with it. No, those are cheap fakes. And it was like, they couldn't hide the potato anymore, man. And he's the potato. Like, straight up Weekend at Bernie's. Like, there's two dudes just, right? Like, and it really makes me question, right? Who today is running the damn country?
It does, because notice, and he's nowhere to be found. And there's like so much chaos going on right now. Like, there's so much that it's like, dude, where are you?
But that's where
like, you're still in charge.
Like,
know?
Even the mainstream media moving forward, right, have continued to push this, right? Like, it's I would call it the vibes election, right? The
vibes.
Right, like this massive Democratic Party gain, right, is all off of vibes, right? When we start looking at the records, right, and then what they are trying to do, which is essentially what all the polls said, like, who beats Donald Trump at the election time frame, and they just went, you know, does Biden do it? And they're like, nah, right? Like, all the polls said pretty much nope. And they started looking at other people like Gavin Newsom and, right, like some of the other potentials. And it wasn't looking great either, but it was a little bit better.
Yeah.
And they were like just generic Democrat. Like, they didn't name anybody if it was just a Democrat. And it was like, oh, kind of significantly better, right?
Yeah. And
it almost seems like they've trounced her out and then have backtracked on her, and then where we'll go with this, right? This episode of her VP pick, right? And they've just backtracked on every single issue that they've ever stumped for, ran on, been associated with, every point of view, all of it. They've re-shot to the center, right? They're like, no, we're moderates. We're not ultra liberals, right? We're not super progressives. We're moderates. It's like, no, like, you're straight line. And
Yeah.
it has been, I think the count is now 18, 19 days since it has been pretty much official that she was anointed as going to be the the Democratic nominee.
Yeah.
For right, the Democratic Party. And she has not given the media has not asked her a single question.
No,
She has not given one
she's
interview.
dodging the
She has not
questions.
she is just running off of like, hey, we're all happy over here, check us out. Like, and they've just, they've tried to rewrite the history. It's amazing.
Yeah. We're gonna dive into this, team. So before, in case you guys don't know what we're talking about, I'm gonna go ahead and show us a clip of basically like a news headline update of the pick being confirmed and that whole thing going forward, and then we're gonna dive into that. But we're also gonna dive into some other chaos going on this week, which is, dude, the stock market. Have you been watching that? I mean, I'm seeing markets, but see, it's not even just our market. It's across the globe right now. Taiwan, Japan, India. Like, markets are just like crashing.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking. All you're hearing is recession. And there's so many things. Now, mind you, I am no freaking data analyst or market analyst. Like, I am not smart when it comes to this kind of stuff. I just know I'm a common sense man where I just know, hey, when things start to affect my wallet and my income and what I'm paying for when it comes to like gas and products and everything, I know that you got to pay attention to that kind of stuff because it does impact, interest rates, buying a house. It's almost like impossible now, It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And there's a lot of root causes to all of this. And some of it, I would argue a good chunk of it is the election. I would argue a good chunk of it is the way that our politics is currently playing out, and the just absolute destruction of the economies post-COVID.
Yeah.
And we're still climbing out of it. And a lot of the typical rules that have been put into place aren't really in application anymore. The markets are doing things that they haven't traditionally done.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a potential correction really coming and really a possible recession. And it's scary, man.
You say it's more like
so
everything's just kind of like preemptive and it's just kind of catching up. Like it's
kind of right. So
from today, we won't see results till like maybe a year from now. Is that what you're saying? Like decisions, we're seeing an impact from like
to some extent,
decisions.
Right? What do the markets thrive on? The markets thrive on stability, right?
Yep.
So anytime there is instability inside of a market, right? Like, or questions like, oh shit, what's going to happen, right? The markets tend to get nervous anyway. When you look at every single election year over the past, let's call it the last 5 elections, right?
Uh-huh.
The last 5 election cycles. When you look at your traditional Dow, S&P 500, right? Like your major market barometers, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
During an election year, they tend to go almost flat, right? They might tick up 1% or 2. They might tick down 1% or 2. But, traditionally, right, like when you look at historically, right, you're outside of your major bubble crashes, what the 08 crash, right, your .com crash, right? Outside of those, right, you see this steady progression up.
Yeah.
Election years, you see them flat. We didn't see that this year.
Ooh.
We have seen unprecedented growth from the market. And there's some indications that it basically between that and then some AI, this is where the big one is, right? Some of the AI forecasts of, hey, there will be massive business growth based off of artificial intelligence, right?
Shoot.
And machine learning.
Yeah.
Well, now they're kind of going, well, yeah, we thought that was going to come sooner. Right. So there's some reports out of, hey, what we thought was going to happen in the next couple of years maybe it's 10 years or maybe it's further, right? So a lot of the major stocks that were driving progression upwards, right, really in the tech sector, took an absolute face shot, and they kind of got brought back down to earth. And
Jeez.
between that, right, and there's a lot of algorithmic systems now, right, when it comes to stock purchases and selling, right? So a lot of it's automated, right, based off of AI, machine learning. Hey, if the market is doing this, right, I should buy or I should sell,
Yeah.
right? So what was kind of happening to some extent was, hey, there was a bunch of sales of stocks, right, that people got nervous, started to sell, right? Well, these algorithms started to pick it up and were like, hey, we've hit a number, so I should dump, I should sell, right? Which then caused it to get to the next level, which then caused it to get to the next level, and people are freaking out. So now everybody's trying to jump out of some of these tech sectors, right, wrong, and different. So the markets are doing some weird shit.
Oh,
How it kind of
jeez.
comes into play with our current politics is, right, you could look it up a couple of weeks ago. Bidenomics. We have the best stock market ever. We look at, and they did, right? Like
There was
they
growth,
had
like you
the
said.
highest stock, right? The highest endpoint
Yeah.
stock, right? In the markets that have ever existed, right? And then, oh no, it's a shit show. And they come back out, they're like, has nothing to do with us. Like, I don't know what's right. Like, no, that's not us. Right. It's the hypocrisy that is fucking killing me.
Yeah, I would say that, and I mean, just overall, and this goes to both parties, man. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
the lack of ownership and accountability. I mean, just
1000%.
to me, it's like, dude, I'm one of those dudes where, I mean, I mean, your time as a first SARN and as a SARN major, like, you just know any of your NCOs you had under you, you know, hey, they're not going to be perfect and they're going to make a bad call and mess up, but are they going to take ownership and accountability? Be like, hey, SARN major, hey, that's my fault. That's my bad. I know you asked me to do that. I didn't get it done. Hey, that's on me. Let me get it fixed. You know, I'm pretty sure as a SAR major, you respected that more than him saying, giving you all these excuses why he
Oh,
couldn't get done.
1000%.
You know, oh, it
1000%,
happened
man.
because of this, or they're not listening, or I have a bad this, and there's no, that the environment's bad, and the soldiers aren't listening, and I mean, just everything else, you know, or I had a
Yeah.
phone call, I had to take care. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a combination of that. And you'd also see it in bad leaders where they would take credit for positives,
yeah,
even if it had nothing to do with them. Right. And they would throw their lowers or throw others under the bus and not take accountability for issues that they were having.
yeah, and that's, I mean, that's just what's gonna. To me, that, I mean, that's how you want to fix this. Hey, bring accountability back, and it's got to be across the platform. It can't be selective. You know, you can't pick which standard and when you're going to enforce it or select. It's got to be across the board. Here's a standard. Boom. Here you go. Keep
Yeah.
everybody accountable.
And we had kind of talked about this a little bit before, right before we started the show today. Right. So I'm a registered independent, man. Like I I I cannot stand the two-party system. If anything, I'm probably a libertarian.
Yeah,
And have you know,
I'm the
that's
same.
probably where I lean the most.
Mm-hmm.
So I take bits and pieces, right? I think there's some absolutely phenomenal, you know, Republican points of view and some absolutely phenomenal Democratic points of view, and right, kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I tend to lean a little more right, probably, just based off of smaller government. But you know, with the two-party system, it's really hard, right? Like all these dudes are interested at this point, especially in today's day and age, is just dunking the shit out of each other.
Oh, it's,
And
yeah.
and it's hard, man. It's hard with what we got. The fact that RFK isn't on the ticket,
That is
and
weird.
has been shunned by, you know, both parties and
Shunned by
mainstream
like the
media.
media as a
Like,
whole.
you don't even have to agree with this dude. You know, again, like
You just don't
he's
even
got some
see him.
weird ass points of view too, in some in some areas. But they've essentially like got it to the point where, right, he was not allowed to debate. They don't have him on the ballot, right, and both parties have intentionally, tried to destroy any potential of him running. And that to me is sickening.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I agree. And I'm right there with you. And definitely, I want to say I'm a professional middleman. But a lot of that, too, is I think it weighs more towards, I mean, honestly, man, and you would know more, but just in my time, just in the military, the more, I guess it's just the majority of the leaders and commanders I've always worked for, and worked with are kind of like always in that same boat. We're just kind of like in the middle, because regardless of who takes that office, that is going to be our commander in chief.
1,000%.
Regardless, and we are going to fulfill and obey the orders provided to us by our commander in chief, regardless if it's who we voted for or who we didn't vote for,
Yeah. As long as it's legal, ethical, ethically and morally sound,
but
right?
Have,
and really
we
legally.
have as leaders, though, and the reason why I think we're always like kind of in the middle, because like you said, there are going to be points of views that we can take from both sides. But at the same time, there is that fundamental basis of leadership that, at least to me, in some of the other leaders I've worked with, that we do maintain that level of ownership and accountability. So it's, hey, who's going to be in charge of us? Just like we get a new commander, they come and go. We have a change of command, and every single one's going to come and they're going to have new policies, their way of doing things, and we just adapt, but we also know, like you just said, as long as everything is ethically, morally intact, then
legally
intact.
That's
as well.
the big one.
Yeah. Then we're good. And that level of accountability is going to be there. And we have doctrine to back us up. It's not going to be selective.
Sure.
So I totally, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Okay. So team, I'm sorry we went on a little rant, but that's what you're going to get here at Comfort and Chaos. It's how we deal with our chaos. And we hope it helps you guys as well get different perspectives out there. But I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you and catch you up as far as what went down this week.
The former educator
and here you go.
Governor also served in the Army National Guard for 24 years, making him the longest
He
serving
served in the Army National Guard for 24 years.
Nominee. Harris and Walz will make their first joint appearance at a rally in Philadelphia later today. Harris was expected to visit North Carolina tomorrow, but that visit was postponed due to Tropical Storm Debbie.
And happening right now in the WREL Live Center, we have reaction to that. Kamala Harris tweeting on X here saying, I'm proud to announce I've asked Tim Walz to be my running mate. As a governor, a coach, a teacher, and a veteran, he has delivered for working families like his. It is great to have him on the team. Now let's get to work. Also, Governor Cooper also posting to X today saying that Harris has picked an outstanding running mate in Governor Tim Walz. Governors like him know what.
So in case you guys didn't know, he is the governor of Minnesota. All right. That's who he has been. Was it 2 terms? He's been elected. He's served. He's a
and he was in the first, second term, and he was in the Senate before that.
Oh, and as a senator, okay.
What it takes to get the job done, and he will be an outstanding
vice president. He helped
from Hillary Clinton
Pelosi
well.
quite a bit, and she was
putting a picture on.
She's a big fan of
X
his.
as well, saying she's thrilled to see Tim Walz join the Democratic ticket.
I'm coining this dude hillbilly Bernie Sanders.
What was that, man?
Yeah, I'm coining hillbilly Bernie Sanders.
Hillbilly Bernie Sanders.
Bro, like he's about as left leaning as
yeah, I'm kind of
Sanders, and he's like trying to play off this like good old boy like kind of vibe. Nope.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say from an American man, and from somebody who is a senior military leader, when it comes to me making a choice, I see leaders or just to give you guys a little update, for us to promote as leaders within the military, we have what's called an evaluation system that we're held accountable to, and everything that you do, who you lead, where you served, where you were assigned a duty position, that's what you're evaluated for. That is your resume, And resumes, that's what lets the military, I would call it the military promotion authority, the gods of Olympus, up at the hierarchy of the Army, HRC, they're going to take those evals. They get a packet, and they're going to get a packet of basically that is your resume, and they're going to rack and stack you based off that. Now, that's why it's important. It's important to take ownership of your job, wherever it is, whatever it is. Take care of your soldiers, fulfill that mission, and keep the commanders happy, and like Will said, as long as it's legally, morally, and ethically, you're just doing your job, and you're keeping yourself accountable, and that is your resume, Now, when it comes to these resumes, I look at candidates like this, because this is going to be, whoever it is going to be our commander-in-chief, and just based off this candidate right now, just immediately, I'm looking at resume here. Okay, hey, I don't care about, what color he is, what race he is, what gender, that candidate is. I'm going to look at their resume, okay? And I would encourage you guys to do the same, because the resume is going to show you basically who they are and what they've done, And I'm just going to say, and I mean, Will, you tell me, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to pass it over to you, but based off this guy's resume, it just doesn't look good, man. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look like somebody who can stand firm, take accountability of his actions, and take ownership of his role, of his duties and responsibilities in that role. I mean, I'm looking at Minnesota, man. I mean, he had opportunities to kind of take care of his people, take care of his foxhole. That's how I see it. He had an opportunity to take care of his foxhole. It took a long time. If you guys don't believe me, look it up. Look what happened. For a while, Minneapolis looked like Somalia is what the trend has been saying. There's literally footage of Minneapolis, and I'm a Twins fan. So let me tell you, Target Field, that's where I want to go, So let me tell you, man, it was one of those things where I've seen all this footage. I'm like, dude, how? I mean, shoot, as a first sergeant, if I have soldiers who don't even get their shots, I'm getting hemmed up, and I'm just like, dude, come on, man. It's like, take ownership. And right now, I just don't see it in this guy. I'm being real. I'm being real with y'all. I just don't see it, I don't know, Will. You tell me your thoughts, dude. I feel like I'm ranting too much.
Yeah, so I mean, first, like, how the shit are you a Twins fan from New Mexico?
From New Mexico.
We're gonna put that one in a box for a later date.
Okay.
But
there's a story to that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Never mind.
And a Miami Dolphins fan in football.
Okay, we're just all over the fucking place. All right, we don't know what we're doing. Kind of like the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So you know what? But I'll fight you. I'll fight you on what you said regarding. Okay. I'll fight you on what you said regarding. Even though I kind of agree with you to some extent, I'll fight you on the accountability portion, and I'll fight you on. Right, that dude, I think he thinks he is doing what is right for his people.
Okay.
He thinks he is doing what is right for the people of Minnesota, right? The people of that state, right, elected him, right? And he swung when he was in Congress, right? He swung a red district blue, a rural red district blue.
Okay.
Right? So now some of his policies, right, like I would argue, right, like are fucking hot garbage. Some of them I think are fine from a libertarian point of view. I'm like, okay, like I could get behind that. And we'll kind of hit some of his major high points and low points, right? But I would argue, right, like right, that dude, just like, right, the country split for the most part, 50-50, right? Like and this is where I think we get off on the wrong page, right? Because we think of the other as, right, ignorant, stupid, the enemy, right? Like And we have this polarization in our country that is just ripping each other further and further apart, and unable to come and go, hey, let's talk about this specific issue. Like, where can we find the common ground, right? Where can we agree and disagree? And as we go over some of these, right, I'm sure we're going to go, oh yeah, you know what? Like, I could get behind that. And that's why, right? Like, I think he wasn't a bad choice, right? Like, do I think that some race or really religion kind of did play into some of her choice? Absolutely. And we'll get into that too, because
DEI
right, really,
or something.
no, right. Josh Shapiro, coming out of Pennsylvania, was probably the front runner for the most part, right? But because he's Jewish,
yeah, exactly. So that'd go against that whole pro-Palestinian movement. That
correct,
would raise
right?
some conflict.
The far left side of the party, right? Not down with that. Even though Tim Walz has a stronger position on Israel Palestine than Josh Shapiro did, right? Josh Shapiro actually was more against Netanyahu than Tim Walz was, right? So a very interesting thing there, but we'll get it. I'll get into that one as we go, right? So one of the first ones, right, like I think is his stance on firearms. So basically straight up has said, hey, I don't support weapons of war. Nobody should have an AR. He's made that very clear. His stance kind of shifted after, right, some of the mass shootings that have occurred throughout the country. He was kind of pro, for the most part, prior, which was kind of one of the interesting things, right, when he throws out that weapons of war thing, which dovetails into his military service, right? And then JD Vance absolutely dunked on him and was like, hey, buddy, you never even saw a war, so what the fuck are you talking about? Right? And he tries to call JD Vance's service into question. Ooh. Like, hey, bro, you were in the Guard and did like a deployment to Europe. Like, shut the fuck up. And he also, right, like part of his military service kind of issues, right? He campaigned on being a CSM. He kept saying, I retired as a CSM.
Really?
Yeah. He did not retire as a CSM. He retired as a master sergeant. He was filling a CSM billet, right? Ooh. We all know, from the military side, right? So he's filling an E9 billet guard, right? So they promote a little bit different. They push people into positions.
Yeah, that's true.
But he never completed the academy. He never completed the E9 requirements and did not retire as an E9. He retired as a master sergeant.
Oh, wow.
He also, this is some of the things that are a little, I question a little bit, right? So he retired a couple of months prior to his unit getting activated to go to Iraq. The claim is he knew it was coming and got out to avoid going with his unit. The guy who replaced him and took over as the CSM of that unit and deployed into Iraq, I think it was 04-05 timeframe. So when it's hot, right? Yeah. Really kind of came out and blasted him and said he was a fucking coward for leaving his unit. Now, right, my flip side to that, right, when you look at it, hey, he did 24 years in the Guard. He was eligible for retirement, and he retired before they left. Right. So normally, and now the Guard's a little weird, and there's some other, right? Like, I don't know what the rules were during that time frame, or how you could leave the Guard, in time increments. But normally you have to have your paperwork in quite a ways before. So the question kind of really is like, did he know, oh shit, I don't want to deploy. I don't want to go to war. And did he dodge out of that one? Which some of the folks in his unit said he did. Or is that just kind of, right-wing talking point? I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of man, I don't know, man. That's kind of tricky there because I agree with you. Like, I mean, yeah, no, I like I said, I can stand behind a lot of calls and policies that both sides make, but foundationally, I do look at like Okay, what have you done though? I'm gonna look at that immediate like
All right.
20-meter target.
Let's go.
What have you done? You know,
Let's go.
You had opportunities to step up and lead. You know, you had opportunities. You know, take charge, lead. You are a governor. You are the one people are gonna look forward to when shit hits the fan. You know, so be prepared to make those calls. And I mean, someone like that's gonna stand out to me. You know, especially in the political realm. You know, now granted too, I also look at the other side, dude. You're a VP, literally, and I'll be real.
Your job's fucking nothing. Your job is
to just go shake hands, you know, take pictures,
Pretty
go
much.
give graduation speeches, you know, at West Point, you know, and that's what you're gonna do. Let's be real. Like, let's be real. But when you are gonna be put in charge, knowing that, okay, hey, you know what, dude, this guy, he's a solid dude. I know what he can do. I've seen what he has done. Okay, I can stand behind him. You know? I just don't get that. And you said yourself, this is like a vibes election. All right, this is like the vibes. And right now, I'm not feeling the vibes on that side. I'm just gonna say,
they are
that the Democratic side. I'm gonna be real, with you guys. Like, I'm just not feeling the vibes. It seems there's just too much, I would say, sketchiness. You know, there's too much.
I would just say there's no
moves.
policy. There's no substance.
And there's no ownership. There isn't, exactly. There's no substance. Like, I'll hand it, as much as people say about Trump, you know, but the dude will literally go and stand amongst. He just did a press conference, like a liberal press conference in Chicago, you know.
The Black Journalists Conference.
The Black Journalists Conference, yeah. And I'm like, dude, he showed up. And I mean, just the fact that he showed up, you know, just tells you, like, dude, he's not afraid to talk. Like,
it wasn't pretty, and he couldn't shut his stupid mouth and said some real dumb shit.
I mean, he did that, but the fact that he executed that initiative, you know, he took that initiative because he knows the role that he wants, and he knows the expectations that are going to be there, and he just, hey, you know what? I'll do it. I'm not seeing that on the other side.
It's kind of interesting, right? Like when you talk about, you know, leadership, right? So, you know, Waltz, right, served multiple terms in the U.S. House. He was singled out for a slow response to law enforcement's request to the National Guard to help in calming the George Floyd riots, right? They basically burned the, you know, billions of dollars with a B, and you know, it was obvious to me that he froze under pressure, under a calamity, as people's properties were being burned down. That was Minnesota State Senator Warren Leamer, and he quoted that to the New York Times. Now, right, we talk about accountability, right? Waltz himself in 2020 called Minneapolis's response to the protests an abject failure, and that Governor Waltz took action eventually and deployed the National Guard to keep the city safe.
Eventually.
Now, right, a couple days later, Trump even came out and praised him for his response when he finally did call in the Guard. So, right, it kind of goes back to, right, what did you think was right? What call did you make at the time, right? And he has kind of come out since and been like, yeah, I could have sped that up. But he's also defended it to some extent as well. So it's kind of Well,
I'm glad. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because since we're on this dude, all right, there's another video I want to show you. Another video that I want to show you that also has me concerned about this guy.
Show me.
Let me flip this over here. Boom. Yeah, so this also has me concerned.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're going to listen to this, guys.
It'll only take about 15 seconds.
Yeah. So listen to this. And here we go.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks for having me on. The anti-Tommy Tuberville, I guess. So it's good to see you. Mitch Landrieu, good to see you. Any place you're at, I'm here. JB Pritzker and this whole group. Following Josh Gad, I am now complete, Josh. This was it. I'm going to echo that message, though, that message of hope. My oldest daughter's name is Hope. And that's because my wife and I spent 7 years trying to get pregnant, needed fertility treatments, things like IVF, things that they would ban. And so once again, I keep talking about this idea. You're right. These guys are the anti-freedoms. I grew up in a small town, 400 people, 24 kids in the class, 12 cousins. And I hear JD Vance trying to talk about what a small town is.
The timestamp you're looking for is 3:05.
Those of you under from a small town, mind your own damn business. We don't need it. I don't know who's asking for this crazy stuff that they're pushing. Who's asking to ban birth control? Who's asking to raise the price of insulin? I'm a Legion Club member, and none of the dudes there are asking to cut veterans benefits like Project 2025
So I'll tell you, he's definitely more outspoken
so look,
than
that's not where folks are at. I represented a rural district. Donald Trump won it by 15 points.
Well, that's because nobody's heard from Kamala Harris.
He's good at
Those
in
are
front of
folks
the
that
mic.
want a fair shot. We need to point out the reason rural America hurts is because robber barons like these
word
guys
salad
have come in there.
anytime
These
she
are
has
the
to go
guys
off
that take money out of
teleprompter.
our public schools to for
And
private schools
starts
to get
that,
vouchers.
like,
People already
cannot
going to
speak.
private school. They
Joker
undermine
laugh
the basic social safety
anytime
net
she gets
that makes
nervous.
I
this
wouldn't even
country
put her in
great.
charge
So
of giving
when I
like
hear
a
you
little
on here, I hear
security
Josh
threat
talking about
brief.
hope. That is exactly
A
right.
simple
That's what we
one.
need. And then coupled with that, because my wife reminds me of this, she said hope is the most powerful word in the universe, but it's not a damn plan. We need a plan to win.
The comment you're looking for is at 3:05, 3 minutes, 5 seconds.
That's what's calling.
I think it's like
And
3:05 to
again,
3:14.
This is preaching to the choir, but the choir needs to sing. The choir needs to sing. This is our moment. This is not just transformational for one election. This is transformational for several generations. But here's the thing that I take responsibility for. We're not in this alone. The rest of the world needs us to be here. These guys throwing our NATO allies under the bus, the idea that they don't care what happens in the rest of the world, not addressing climate change that's going to impact communities that are less fortunate than anyone else. Those are the things it has to do. We have communities that are going to pay the price because we don't address it. Here's the great news. How often in 100 days do you get to change the trajectory of the world? How often in 100 days do you get to do something that's going to impact generations to come? And how often in the world do you make that bastard wake up afterwards and know that a black woman kicked his ass and sent him on the road? And you know.
I always hate how they throw race. Like, why is race a thing? I feel like they make it a thing. Like, just say, hey, how often did a woman kick your ass? But they have to be like emphasis. Oh, how often did a black woman kick your ass? Like, why? I just see a woman, an American woman. I don't know. That's just me. That's my own little rant that I've seen. People, I only see the race thing get pulled more from, like, let's say like these media outlets and like this side. Really, I don't see it anywhere else. I don't even see it in the army. You know, I'm in the military. It's not a thing. You know, it's just when you start making it a thing. You know,
I mean, I think the context matters, right?
Yeah.
Like, what exactly are you getting at, right? Like, if you're trying to do the victim Olympics, like, get the fuck out of here, right? Like, if you're trying to make
that's what I'm saying.
A specific point on, hey, like, there is, right, like, a racial inequity under these circumstances, right? Okay, we can have that discussion, right? And there's points to be made there, without a doubt, right? Like, hands down. Right. You know, the redlining and stuff that has happened. I mean, it has created situations that, right, are still, you know, exist today. Cool. But the constant, like, oh, this is a victim mentality.
Yeah.
Right. Like, for an entire race is just horseshit.
Okay. So let me ask though, like, when you say exist today, okay. So in the past week, how many times have you encountered a racist?
Oh, so again, right? Like, well, that's an entirely different argument, I think.
I know, but like,
right?
See, that's what I'm saying is, like, I feel like when you're doing, like you said, the victim, you know, when you're victimizing or you're victiming yourself. Other than that, though, the general, like, it's not a thing until you make it a thing, is what I'm saying. Like, look around you. Has it? I can tell you right now. Obviously, maybe there's a small percentage of racists in America right now. I'm not saying there's not any, but I bet you that percentage is a lot smaller now than it was 40 years ago, you know?
Sure.
Because there has been so many movements and so many implementations, so many policies, you know. I mean, just in the I just look at the military as a whole, you know. I mean, look at all the training and the briefings, you know. We have EO now, you know. I mean, there's just so many things and different avenues and mitigation measures that we have in place. But at the same time, you also got to focus like, okay, let's dwell on the progress, you know. Let's focus on all the good that has come out of this, you know, and let's exploit that. But other than that, let's not keep going back and trying to make this a thing. I mean, I just don't see it that way, you know?
Sure. You know what? I would tell you that I absolutely agreed with you until I was told this.
This is the best thing about Comfort and Chaos, man, is
right.
We don't have to agree. I always tell everybody.
No. Right. So I have friends, African American, older than you and I.
Okay.
Who essentially went to, you know, we're feeling the effects of segregation. Still alive today.
Okay. No.
Their parents were on plantations. Right? Like we're not that like you and I feel extremely removed because we grew up in a time, right? Like that Gen X, early millennial kind of time frame, right? Where like we all were told you don't see color, right? That was our, you know, rallying cry, right? Like I grew up in all Hispanic neighborhoods. Half my extended family is Hispanic, right? Like it just wasn't a thing. Like, you know, I didn't see it. I didn't see it growing up. Like, cool, right? Like those people experienced it, right? And the effects of what they went through, right? You look at the redlining, like I was talking about, right? Like where they were specifically drawing out districts and not giving loans to people of color, right? And creating generational poverty. Like, hey, you can't move into that nicer neighborhood, right?
Damn.
Like that existed for decades. Like
it was called
what? What was it, 70s, 80s? Yeah.
Where brokerage companies would literally, I mean, you had the banks were like involved in it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like it was the banks, right? Like, so when you talk about those things, right? Like we are not even a generation necessarily removed from that.
Yeah.
Right. So that shit exists, right? Like, do I think that we are an inherently racist nation? No. I don't. Do I think that, you know, massive strides have been made? Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
Does there still more shit that could be done? Sure. Like now we can have the real tough discussion of what is that? Like, how do we get, you know, to a point where like, hey, there were some massive injustices done to entire groups of people. For fuck's sake, we were throwing people in internment camps in the 40s. Right? Like, we're not even generations removed from that at this point.
And at the same time, too, we're also a very young nation. You know?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, America as a whole. I mean, we're only 250 years old, 200.
Yeah.
But and when you're looking at all these other nations, you know, who've been around for thousands of years. I mean, at the same time, we're still growing, we're still developing, you know, and I agree with you. I mean, I totally agree with you that there are probably still things, you know, that are still going on, you know, in the country in the form of where decisions are being made based off racial considerations. But at the same time, there has been so much though where it is so small, I mean, it is small, because I look at it more of like, okay, from a boots on ground perspective, when's the last time now I get it. We can all know somebody, but what about you? What about your family? What about your, like, what have you experienced? What have you observed to the point where you're like, wait, did I just see that? Did that bank just make that call to my neighbors? Or something that was so natural back then, like it was a big thing back then, but now it's like we have come a long way. So why are we? Let's focus ahead and let's not focus back. Is what I'm.
Sure. I get you to a point. I do,
because it doesn't help. If we don't let go, like, we got to focus ahead now.
Yeah, I think you have to acknowledge, right, the past, right, like, and still, right, it goes back to accountability, right, like,
exactly.
Hey, you as a human, right, you as a person, not a specific color, right, like, what is your what kind of person are you? Are you a good person? Are you a hard worker? Are you, right, like, that to me, and that to me makes the difference, right? But I still think, right, like, you have to fix, right, some of the things that have happened, right? Yep. And going, well, we're good now. Like, yeah, I know that these entire communities are in abject poverty. I know that we incarcerate African Americans at a significantly higher rate. I know, right? Like, oh yeah, we'll get there. Like, whatever. Like, no, like, hey, that shit's still happening. So acknowledge it, right, and go, okay, yeah. Like, now, what is the fix? That to me is the hard part, right? Like,
yeah,
right. That's where I'm like, I don't like that DEI stuff, right? Like,
yeah, I'm not a fan.
I don't think that.
I feel like it does the exact opposite.
Yes, I do too, and I think that it disenfranchises others, and anytime you do that, right, like, it's just not a good thing. Did you get to the socialist comment on there?
No. We got into a good conversation. Into a good conversation. So my apologies.
We got to go back to old Timmy here.
Yeah, my apologies. Let's go.
We're gonna have to do it. We're about there.
We're about there. Yeah, we'll get to this in another episode, guys. Let me make sure we get to this.
That's something that guy's gonna have to live with for the rest of his life. So I got to tell all of you, please do what you can. Please talk. Look, I got Florida Man as a brother. We all got him in our families, but these are our neighbors and our relatives. And at heart, they're good people. They're not mean-spirited. They're not small. They're not petty like they hear on stage. They're angry. They're confused. They're frustrated. They feel like they got left behind sometimes. But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Just do the damn work. So I got to tell you, when I see this,
one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
That's wild, man.
To me, that's wild, team. Like Will said, so if you know anything about democracy, all right, and basically what the American way of life, and the pursuit of happiness, that doesn't fly. That doesn't fly. All right. That's a tough thing to stand on right there, what he just said. And I'm waiting to see if he's gonna correct that, because from my understanding, Will, that's still fresh, right? That was like a Zoom call from yesterday or something.
That was him on a White Dudes for Harris Zoom meeting.
White Dudes for Harris.
Correct.
Why couldn't we just American Men for Harris?
You
see what I'm saying?
Because in order to win the presidency, she needs the white male vote to turn out in the same rate that they did for Biden. And polling is showing that it's not there, at least not yet. A lot of white males have pushed over to Trump. And now she is pulling, like where she has pulled back, right? Like she has gotten back a lot of females. But the biggest voting block is white dudes. So that's why they have these, this is the dude who coined the term weird on the Republicans, and he is a fucking weirdo. And he's doing shit like white dudes for like
White
the
dudes for
intersection. The
Harris.
intersectionality is just abysmal. Like it makes me sick. Like
That
just
does.
breaking
Okay, so think of
people
it this
down in
way.
these little tiny blocks. It's just,
Imagine. So I'm going to ask you then. Imagine you as a CSM. All right. Hypothetically, you're a CSM, and now you're about to go work with a colonel. And that commander is telling you, "Hey, I want to do, let's say, like an integration brief, but I want to do all the white NCOs." What are you going to tell him as a CSM? And then after that, I want to do all.
You should talk to legal.
black
But right,
NCOs.
yeah. I would want to know the why. And this is the why, right? Like the why is politics, right? Like you're talking something completely different. The why is politics, right? You have to pander to different sections of your constituency, right? And this socialism thing, this is where it also gets really interesting, right? So, and really, I think a large part of why Walz is even a candidate, right? So the Democratic Socialists of America, right? The farthest of the, pretty much one of the farthest of the left wings that you can go, right? Harris choosing Walz as a running mate has shown the world that the DSA and our allies on the left are a force that cannot be ignored. This is from the DSA. Through collective action, DSA and the US left more broadly have made it clear that change is needed. DSA members organized in our workplaces and unions to realign the labor movement to support the Palestinian liberation. Democratic Socialists of America, the largest socialist group in the US, posted on X on Tuesday. So that's straight from the DSA. The DSA went on to take credit for pressuring Democrats to allegedly snub other candidates, and really they're talking about Josh Shapiro, right, including the ones with direct ties to the IDF. And he was a quote unquote volunteer, right? They have this conscription, right? As if you're Israeli, but he volunteered to work with the IDF when in his youth. Like the right straight. I mean, socialist, right? Like I would encourage people to look at what is going on in Venezuela. You can vote yourself into a socialist regime. You can vote yourself in, but then you got to shoot your way out.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You brought up a good example. Look what's going on in Venezuela right now. You will see. That's a socialistic based government right there. That's socialism right there. And you got to shoot your way out. So
you can vote in, but you got to shoot out.
Yeah.
But don't worry, they'll Harris and supported with Walz, right? Like as she has already stated, hey, I'm going to try to do an executive action to do mandatory gun buyback. Like within her first 100 days of office. She said that. Like that was one of her positions, right? She attempted to run for president, and her wild ass, ultra super far left positions were on full display. She was left of Bernie Sanders. She's one of the most liberal out there. And Walz is in the same fucking category.
No delegate votes.
She dropped out before Iowa.
She got 0 votes
because she opened her mouth. That's why she hasn't done an interview. She hasn't talked to the press. The media haven't asked her a fucking question. Right? Like there's been nothing on substance. Right. Well,
how do you go from going?
If I'm
See, this
If on the Democratic Party,
this is
like,
where I'm saying there's the
you keep your
vibes are
fucking
not
mouth
right,
shut.
man.
She's gonna run the same pseudo campaign that Biden ran, right? Biden ran from his fucking basement the last
Yeah.
time, right? And basically didn't say anything.
And they're
If
not
she's
going to let her
smart, she'll do
debate.
the same thing.
And she
because-
can't debate.
No, she wouldn't want to.
Because-
If I was Trump, I'd be trying to debate her every 32 seconds. Like, I'd be
Gosh,
getting her
dude.
to open her mouth.
This is what the heck, man. These are some weird times, man.
Yeah.
These are some weird times.
But here's right. So let's run down real quick. Like, let's just run down a quick, right? Some of the major accomplishments, right? Some of the major policy decisions that Waltz has done, right? Since he was a governor, right? So, and whether or not here's where this is going to get interesting, right?
Okay.
Do you support it, right?
Okay.
So, he signed into a law ensuring that 20 weeks of paid family and medical leave in the state of Minnesota.
Okay. Paid family medical leave
Mm-hmm.
for employees.
Correct.
From all employers in the state
Yep,
of Minnesota.
Yep.
Okay.
You have to give them 20 weeks.
20 weeks?
20 weeks. Paid family medical leave.
20 weeks.
It's
Wow.
what, 5 months?
Yeah, dude. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Okay. I'm kind of on the fence on that one too. Like,
That's a,
hey, man,
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. All right. He signed into a law protecting abortion rights in Minnesota after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
Which
Now, this is
basically all that means is they hand it over to the states. So
correct.
that's all that means.
All the way up to point of birth.
Damn.
So as, right, like, again, right, libertarian, I think a woman should be able to do what she wants with her body.
I agree.
I support the right to choose up to a point,
Yeah.
right? I think that there should be a certain cutoff. Now, here's where it gets kind of weird, right? With medical advances, right? That time frame of when a viable pregnancy could be carried to term without the mother, right? Like, has significantly just kept shifting back. So is it 16 weeks? Is it 20 weeks? Is it right? Like, what is it? That one I'm still kind of like, I don't know. But I still think, up to a certain point, the right to have an abortion, right? Like those are parental decisions. That's my take. But all the way up to conception, like, oh yeah, like I'm 9 months pregnant. Nah, never mind.
Yeah.
Changed my mind. Like, no, that's where I'm off.
Yeah, it's kind of tough at that point, man.
Sure.
As a father, it's just tough.
Yeah,
That's just tough.
yeah,
you know?
1000%. Like I again, right? Like I, for one, like that is not my choice. That would not be my choice. I don't care. 1 week, 52 weeks, like whatever, man. Like,
Yeah.
no, like, nope, we're not doing that. That's my decision, right? But
Yeah.
I don't feel I should decide for someone else. That's my take. All right. So arguably one of the most protective of transgender and gender affirming care for youth signed that into law.
Yeah. No.
Nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely
That's
not.
already like I have my own stance on that, man.
He's a big fan of trans and the kids, and when he signed that into law, right? Like, he's got 10 and 12-year-olds, right, who are transitioning, standing behind him. Like,
Damn.
hey man, if we're gonna go that far on the full, hey, do whatever the fuck you want, train, why not just give them crack? Like, let's give
Yeah.
those kids crack. Let's give them handguns. Hey man, we're good. Like, just do whatever you want, right? Like,
Yep.
nope. Like, there's a reason why you cannot imbibe alcohol. You can't buy cigarettes. You can't, right? Like, because it's fucking bad for you, right? And even all the ultra liberal European countries are now coming out going, "Hey man, we fucked this up. Like,
Yeah, no,
we got to stop
they,
this."
They really are. I mean, the data shows.
Yeah.
The data is coming out,
Oh yeah.
and it's not, and there's a reason why it's not being broadcast.
And for some reason, no,
do your own
it
analysis.
is. And our folks are just doubling down.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild. Okay. He did legalize recreational marijuana. I'm for it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm for it too.
Smoke the ganj, brother. Like, do what you got to do.
Obviously, I can't partake in that now.
You can't.
But
I still got a clearance. I can't either.
yeah, unfortunately.
I'm in
But,
Colorado, man, and I still can't.
But when the time comes, there's a few edibles I wouldn't mind trying out.
Yeah. Come on out to Colorado when you're done, brother. He restored voting rights for 55,000 felons on probation.
Wow. Dude, I'm just not liking this guy's resume, man. I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. Like, hey, you did the time. Like,
I mean, you're a felon. To me, it's like, dude, you know what? Hey, no one told you to do what you did. You chose, and now you pay
level
the
of
price.
felony. What's the level of the felony?
How
bad was the felony?
Yeah,
you're right. Like, hey man, like, I murdered 3 guys in a Walmart parking lot. Okay, maybe you don't get to partake. Hey, it's a little white collar crime or something. I moved a little money. I kind of fucked it up. Okay. All right. Let's see. Super aggressive targets on climate change. I think he wants Minnesota to be fully electric by 2040.
Wow.
And if you saw what happened in Texas,
That ain't gonna
right,
happen,
a few
man.
years ago when a cold snap hit, that'll be real interesting. I don't know.
I have
Like,
my
that's
own
not
thoughts
the,
on
that's
that,
not the
man.
place for wind and solar. I applaud it if it can be done, but I don't know.
It can't be
with
done.
how much money the government's
Not right
gonna
now.
spend
We
on
don't
that.
have the infrastructure to support something like that.
Made Minnesota one of the 6 states that provides universal free school lunches.
Okay, good deal. Feed the
No,
kids.
I'm against.
What? The kids gotta
Right?
eat, man. Kids gotta eat.
So universal free school lunches, right? So let me put it this way, right? Like, I financially am okay. I do okay. I don't need my tax dollars going to pay for my kid's school lunch. My kid gets a free school lunch.
Yeah.
Right here in this state.
Yeah.
I don't need that. Like, he doesn't. I can do that. Right.
Yeah.
I, as his parent, can do that. I can pay for it.
I
Like,
think
I
it
should be paying for his food.
I guess that would be cool if they can make it a way where it's optional.
I wouldn't even say optional, right? When I grew up, and I don't know about you, right? Like, I got free school lunch because I was poor. I was a poor, hands down, full government cheese poor, right? Like, I needed that, right? Based off of income.
Yeah.
Right? Based off my parents' income. There were kids that did not get that. They got reduced school lunches because their parents' income hit certain thresholds.
Yeah.
Right? There were kids that were very well off. They had to pay, the $2 or whatever it was for their lunch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm for a reduced and free school lunch program. I'm not for universal fucking pay for everybody.
Yeah, not the universal pay for everybody thing, but there should be, definitely a program in place somewhere where they can enable that. Because I mean, if you're willing to give,
it used to be. This was really hit when COVID hit. The schools had so much COVID money. They were just like, fuck it, we have to spend all this money.
Yeah.
So they were revamping things. They were like, we'll just do fucking free lunches for everybody. And a lot of them have kept it. And so that's kind of that one.
I mean, if you're willing to enable 20 weeks of paid family and medical leave, then hey, put some
Just
some
handing out
alley-
money, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hand that money out so that you can take care of also that initiative for the universal lunches. You know, put
Yeah.
some of that towards there instead of making all the taxpayers do it.
Yeah. So he is trying to get an expansion of the child tax credit, billions in increases on some taxes, and a plan to spend much of a. So Minnesota had a budget surplus, right? They had more money coming in than they had going out, right? To the tune of like $17.5 billion.
Damn.
Right. They're doing good. They're fiscally responsible, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what that tells me.
How
But
much
he wanted
money
to. Oh,
did
he
they-
blew it. He absolutely. He's trying to blow it clean the fuck out. He was giving, let's see, driver's licenses to not just driver's license, but also medical care to undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yep, passed measures to make illegal immigrants eligible for free tuition college program. And expanded access to the state's Minnesota care to include those in the country illegally.
So I'm
And
going to ask
full
then,
sanctuary state.
Okay, so if he's doing all that for illegal immigrants, I'm tracking he was also in charge of veteran affairs. So what is he doing for the veterans in his state then?
Yeah, like not as much as he's trying to do for illegal immigrants. I can tell you that.
I mean,
much.
that's obviously if your focus, you're a 24-year veteran, you know, supposedly retired CSM.
No. Retired master sergeant.
Okay, yeah, retired master sergeant, 24 years.
Not one of those.
Okay, yeah,
Where's
not
that?
one of those.
No.
Exactly,
No.
he didn't earn his glass,
Nope.
not yet. But
Not ever.
if you're going to do all that for illegal immigrants, knowing that you have all this experience and knowledge and what's going on in the veteran community, and now you're in charge of that state, I'm going to also ask, what have you done for them too? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you've done some stuff, but hey, it should be broadcasted as well. If you're willing to do all this, you know, for these illegal immigrants in your state, your veterans should be top tier then, because you're one of them. That's your brotherhood. You know,
Yeah.
you were there. You know, that is something I'm also gonna hold him accountable for.
Sure,
you know?
man.
Or hopefully it's on his resume.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, right? Like, you know, those are policy positions, right? You can agree with them, you can disagree with them,
Yeah.
right? If you agree with them, right, you're gonna vote, right? And that's what this is about, man. Like, it is about
It really
voting
is.
for, you know, unfortunately, at this point, what you think is the less dumpster fire candidate. And you know, where the direction that you want to see the country, right? Like, you've got wildly left politicians, right, who are now claiming to be hard on the border, which everybody knows is a fucking joke.
It really is, man. It really is.
You know, they're backtracking on every single policy decision that they have pushed for, you know, since they have existed in the world of politics.
Yeah.
And they are backtracking on all of them. You know, you kind of generally know what you get with, at this point, the right side of the ticket, right? Like,
I also think you know too what you're gonna get on the left side of the ticket too, because I'm gonna go forward. Just look at the resume, okay?
yeah.
You're looking at a candidate.
Oh,
who's
yeah,
running for office who literally already had 4 years in a position to make that change. All the stuff that you're saying and you're campaigning on, then I'm gonna ask you, what'd you do past 4 years? Like, what'd you do then?
She was the vice president, right? Like,
But
she
like,
didn't do,
you could
she
have
didn't do
like
anything,
you could have
because
you
the
could
vice
have
president doesn't do anything. Like,
had
that's
some influence. I mean, you were the border czar.
well. So this is right where they play both sides, right? She didn't, because she was the vice president. If you actually like, you can go and see the leaks. She would essentially sat in her office and played solitaire. That's not a joke. Like, that's out there. Like, you can look it up.
Oh man, dude.
She played a lot of solitaire
This
in
is
her
some
office.
crazy times. Man.
Right. What did she actually do? Nothing, because she was the vice president.
I don't
right?
know.
But you
That's
but
just
you
it. I
can't
don't
then
know what she's
claim.
done.
But you can't, because nothing. Because she was the fucking vice president, right? But you can't turn around and claim policy wins, right, under what Biden did, right? Which I would claim there are, in my opinion, very few policy wins.
Yeah.
But you can't claim even his, what the left would see as a policy win as your own, and then backtrack on it, as now you're the candidate and you have to seem more moderate. And you're like, no. Like, I didn't do any of that. I did this other stuff. And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, nope, you didn't do that either. You didn't do any of those things, right? Like, you can't have it both ways. And it's sad that the media hasn't even attempted, seemingly, or hasn't even called it out, that she is basically radio silent at this point, and has refused to even sit down and even do an interview with a friendly interviewer. Because when she has, right, like, you get comments like, I've been to the border, and Lester Holt's like, no, you haven't. No, you didn't. Well, I haven't been to the border. I mean, I haven't been to Europe. Like, what?
I haven't been to Europe.
I haven't been to Europe.
These are some crazy times, man. I gotta admit, these are some crazy times, And I mentioned it. I used to always, in all my episodes, guys, and you guys know this, I would always tell you, 2024, brace yourselves. This is gonna be a rough year. It's gonna be a year. So we got to find comfort in our chaos this year. This is the year. There's going to be a lot of chaos this year. And we're just seeing the tip of it right now. I think we're just seeing we're slowly getting the waves coming in. They're just slowly coming in little by little.
Yeah,
the
it's going to be an
swells are
interesting
getting
couple
bigger.
months, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I think that's a good note for us to end it, man. I think that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some crazy times, dude. I appreciate that. Hey, it's nice to know, dude. It's nice to know. And this is one thing I like to always make sure that people have to understand. You can always have a conversation with somebody, and you don't always have to agree. That's one of the best characteristics to me about just humanity as a whole. It is that capability, because you walk away learning something. There's always something to learn. There's always room for growth, and you can still walk away and be buddies, be pals, be Americans, and don't even have to worry about it. We don't have to agree with everything, Will probably doesn't even like white wine. I happen to like white wine, doesn't mean I think Will's a bad guy. No, he likes to wear a blazer on episodes. I like to wear my whoopee. You
drink your booze with ice cubes in it.
Exactly. He doesn't like I put ice in my Buffalo Trace. He likes his Buffalo Trace.
Disgusting. It's disgusting.
We agree to disagree, and then we're still pals, and we still give you an episode, and that just shows, guys. All right, and watch, you're gonna see it. I'm telling you, you're gonna see it in the coming months. You're going to see some of your friends you've been friends with for years are going to post some random thing on their social media. Next thing you know, you're going to get heated and you're going to get in an argument. And then next thing you know, you're deleting. And now there goes your 10-year friendship down the drain.
You're going to see it in the comments section of this video.
And we're going to see it in the comments. So comment down below how much you guys disagree with us right now. Just do it. Send it. And then if you do agree, hey, if we make some good points, comment down below too. I like reading them all. And we do read them all.
Subscribe, share to your friends, see what they think.
Exactly. By all means, I want to know everybody's thoughts on this, because 2024 is going to be a crazy year, guys. And, but not an impossible one. All right. We can still find comfort in this chaos, and that's what we're here for. Even though we don't always have to agree, we don't always have to agree, but I'll tell you what, just based off the conversations that I had with Will today, I've learned some things, I got to rethink some things, and rethink my approach now, and I can't say the same for him, but hey, I mean, he's a retired CSM guy. You can't go, that's it. At this point, it's a stone wall over there,
I'm just El Mayo.
El Mayo.
Spanish.
All right, man. Hey, you got any closing words for the team before we end this?
Yeah, man. Definitely, right? Like, regardless of whatever your your leaning is, get out there and vote. Make your voice heard.
That's true.
That's the great part of our democracy, right?
Hell yeah.
Whatever it is. And then I'll leave everybody with this, right? Little tip, right? Remember that no one can prove you were not a regional manager for Radio Shack, Toys R Us, Blockbuster. You can throw that shit on a resume, okay? All right. I'll leave you with that.
All right, guys. Hey, we'll catch you on the next one. Stay tuned, man. We got some big things coming, guys. Make sure you're part of this. Please hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hey, don't worry. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Just
this weekend, brother.
Slap it. We got a big episode coming out this weekend. Literally. We're gonna be talking to somebody very special.
The debut episode of the Dead Drop.
Of the Dead Drop series, guys. So check it out. It's coming soon. So stay tuned. And I hope you guys are there for the journey. All right. It's going to be a wild ride coming up. All right. All right, team. From my world to yours, have a good night. Do your push-ups, drink your water, take your vitamins, and most importantly, guys, continue mission. All right. Find comfort in your chaos every day and every way. I'll see you on the next one, team. Out.